Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you so much for coming back to another episode of the Fizzness Shizzness podcast. My name is Rob, and it's the new year. Yay, we've made it for another year. I've had a lot of conversations about New Year's resolutions. Like, what are you gonna do now that it's a new year? What's the thing? What's the thing that you pretend that you want to do now that you didn't want to do yesterday and you didn't want to do last week or you didn't want to do all of last year? I've never quite understood that. To me, it just seems like a fancy procrastination method to put off the inevitable, the inevitable being that I just don't want to do that thing. And it sounds much better to say, you know what? I am so on the grind right now that whenever the first of the whatever comes, which is in the future, so I don't have to do it now. But whenever that day comes, I'm going to get it, whatever it ends up being. But the problem is, whenever that day comes, what they have to do is then face the fact that the reason that they put that time off or that date off so far was because they didn't want to do it then. They sure as hell don't want to do it now. And that's why most New Year's resolutions fail, because they don't want to do it anymore on the 1st, and they wanted to do it on December 1st or any time during the last year. My wife, though, she's really good at scheduling something like that, where she can look in the future and see a date and go, you know what, when that date comes, I'm going to do this particular process, the couch to 5K or 10K or this particular fitness challenge. She's really good at that, and she can execute it. For her, it's not a procrastination method because she's so logistically and schedule minded. Like, she loves structure. And so for her, that is a great way to say, you know what, that time is coming and here's whenever it's going to start. I don't have that skill set. I have the skill set of not doing that, of saying, I just would rather wait, especially with like health and fitness stuff. That's been a pretty consistent theme for me all my life, is just going, I'll just do that at a later time whenever it gets more convenient. But the older that you get, you realize that convenience is not your friend, and waiting to get healthier, waiting to get fitter based off of a convenience factor is just never going to happen. Some of the heaviest lifting that I've ever done is overcoming the mental hurdles and realizing that if I'm ever going to make any changes whenever it comes to my health and fitness and ever make any improvements, that I'm actually going to have to change some of the mundane and routine stuff in my life in order to make those things happen. Because if I don't, it's never going to find a way to weasel into my daily schedule to actually happen on its own. I had to force it. I also had to change my mindset whenever it came to why I wanted to do these things. A lot of the reasons that I had been putting things off for so long was because my motivations for doing those things, those reasons that I had convinced myself as to why I wanted to do those things, weren't actually my motivations. I mean, they were somebody's, they just weren't mine, but they sounded good. You know, I always said things like, well, I want to get in shape because, and then insert whatever sort of generic thing here. I want to live a long time and healthy. I used to say that, or I would say things like, I want to get fit and get muscles because if I ever need to pick up a boulder or a moving car that crashed on top of somebody, I can lift. I was just saying stuff because I thought it sounded right. I would say it to other people, hoping to somehow gain their respect or their admiration for this endeavor that I was about to take. But in reality, all that stuff I was saying actually didn't mean anything to me. It's important. I mean, yeah, I want to live longer, and I suppose that if somebody's stuck under a car, I'd like to help them get out of that traffic jam. That's a traffic pun. That was stupid. But those things didn't mean anything to me. It wasn't until quite a few number of years later that I had this epiphany that a lot of the things that I was avoiding doing, not because I didn't want to do them. Well, yeah, I didn't want to do them, but I never was actually doing them because I could never get motivated enough to do them based off of the motivations that I was trying to convince myself were what mattered the most. It turns out what mattered the most wasn't living forever. It wasn't being a Superman and lifting an automobile off a person stuck underneath it. What mattered the most to me ended up all being very vain and selfish things. Whenever I started thinking about those things, I found those to be the most motivating. Those are the ones that made my heart rate the fastest. Those were things like, you know what? I have such a heavy burden on my shoulders from being ignored by girls whenever I was a teenager that I want to look better to the opposite sex. I was sick of getting ignored and other dudes being picked over me. That's one of the heaviest weights a lot of people carry. It's not the barbells and the dumbbells that we pick up. It's that burden of being overlooked our entire lives. That is heavy. Like, that meant something to me, though. I wanted to look good. I never felt like I looked good. And I wanted other people to notice that I looked good too. Especially the older that I got, I felt like not only did that burden get heavier, but I thought my opportunity actually got better for achieving those things that mattered the most to me, of looking good, for bucking the trend, for catching the glance of somebody in the gym and them going, ooh, he looks good. Or some guy going, man, that guy's bigger than me. Or, like, I just wanted that because I felt like I'd been so overlooked for so long. And the older that I get, I find that I have such a better opportunity to achieve that, because now I'm not just some guy that's in shape. Now I'm, look at that older guy. He sure is in shape. I can't explain it, but it's what motivates me. It's what makes my blood boil or move faster. It's what makes me perspire. Ooh. It's what makes my heart race. When I think of those things, that's what motivates me to move. Those are the things that motivate me to put my shoes on when I don't want to put my shoes on. Whenever I finally leveled with myself and asked myself what mattered most, it was the things that sounded the least attractive, the things that sounded the least noble that mattered the most to me. So it turns out those were the things that were actually the most important. I was trying to achieve some level of motivation based off of stuff that didn't matter to me. And in return, I got the efforts and the response from that, which was I did nothing. It was like trying to drive a car with no gas. This wasn't going anywhere. So leveling with myself became one of the biggest tools that I've ever come across in my life whenever it comes to trying to achieve things that I want to achieve. But I look back and I can see I've had struggles with doing those things. I can always look back and say, well, what was my motivation, or what did I tell myself my motivation was, and what is it actually? And what I can find and what I see in most of those situations is, in those failures, most of the time those failures, I can see a motivation that wasn't at my root. It wasn't something that was actually in my heart. And there was a gap between that and what my motivation actually was. And that's true for health and fitness. It's true for relationships. It's true for my career. Anytime that I have fallen short, I can look back and find a misguided motivation or motivating factor connected to it, which then put me into an unusual position of just not caring enough to put enough effort into doing whatever needed to be done. So as we are here in this new year, just remember, it's okay if your motivations are you just want to look good. You just want to land some babes, dude babes or girl babes or whatever else babes. Whatever it is, that's your motivation. There is no such thing as an incorrect motivation. If it's the thing that's going to drive you, yeah, it might not sound as noble as I want to live forever for my grandkids. But if you don't care about your future grandkids, then what good does that motivating factor do for you right now? All it's doing is it's keeping you from having enough motivation, intestinal fortitude, whatever you want to call it, to actually move, to actually try, to actually put forth the effort to get those things that you want to achieve. Congratulations on BSing your way about some grandkids that don't even exist yet. It's stopping you from actually getting you what you want in your life. That's it. So I hope this was helpful for you all. Keep it real in here. And if it's true, it's true. There is no such thing as a wrong motivation. You can always learn to try to create new motivations and grow. But right now it is what it is. And once you realize that and embrace it, you'll be surprised what you can accomplish. Thanks y'all so much for watching. We'll see you on the next episode of the Fizzness Shizzness podcast. Peace out.